Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
I hope you're packing some caffeine this morning, Glenn.
No, I told you, man. I'm late. I'm late today, and I'm really disappointed. But I got half speed.
Okay, you got half speed.
But normally we banter back and forth, and
we're not going to banter.
Well, I had good banter, and I forgot it because there's so much energy in this room.
There is a lot of energy.
I have a clean slate. I got blank piece of paper in front of me, nothing planned, and sometimes that's how the magic happens.
That is always how the magic happens. So we got magic in the studio this morning. We got Kim.
Also known as a shit show.
Yes, we got multiple
because we're not sure
guys.
how this is going to come out. But
we have no idea. We got more people than Mike's. Hey, we got Mike. That's the key.
Yeah,
that's
blah,
important.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we're joined by four fellow AAers and friends.
Rock stars.
We have Elizabeth. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth
good morning,
is back.
Guys.
Good morning. And Kim.
Good morning.
Wait, it keeps going, Glenn. It keeps going.
Oh, my gosh.
Katie.
Good morning.
Katie.
Jackie.
Good morning.
Hey, Jackie.
Oh,
look, hey, this shit is
that.
actually working out all of a sudden. Like everybody uses the microphone.
I know.
Brian.
Very good. So this all started. We've had Elizabeth. Thank you for rejoining us.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so we've had Elizabeth on a couple of times. Great episodes. Go back and check them out. And really, really good stuff. And we always say at the end, the episodes are always so good. We're like, come on back. Well, be careful what you ask Elizabeth.
Yeah, but what happens to the guests that come on that we don't say, where we don't say that?
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Have a good life. Today.
Yeah, have a good life. We'll never see you again.
That's terrible, Mikey.
No, that's not true.
That's terrible.
My mom keeps listening whether we have good guests or not. So.
That's awesome.
But Elizabeth has been a great guest for us, and so then we had this idea. So Elizabeth works with, and they haven't gone through a branding exercise yet. They need to come up with a name.
The crew.
But right now they're just the girl gang. The girl gang.
Okay.
Right. And and that's who we have in the coffee shop this morning. We got the girl gang, and 4 strong, but there's actually 5, right? In the girl gang, 6.
6. We're missing 2.
Yeah.
What in the world?
Well, that'll be next time they come back.
All right. So why don't we do this?
Yes.
We started, and we always joke that sometimes our parking lot sessions are better than the actual sessions. So we started talking about topics. Blank piece of paper, and Kim starts jumping in. So I think that's probably a good place to kick off.
Right. So Kim, let's give.
So is there a leader of this girl gang, or what?
No. It's a democracy of one.
I would say it's Kim, but everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy, so maybe not.
Well, Kim did jump out and start to tell a story. So Kim, we'll bounce it to you and let you jump in here.
Okay, my name's Kim. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Kim.
I've been sober forever. In 1981, I got into OA, and they said no drugs or alcohol. So I've got 42 years.
Wow.
And I worked a really strong program at first, and then kind of got over the food thing, and have been very careful to keep away from drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I was in a long marriage, which discouraged AA attendance. And I got divorced, and in 23, Elizabeth said, will you be my sponsor? And I said, well, alcohol isn't my first drug of choice. I haven't been anybody's sponsors for years. I'm not even sure if I did the steps right. And she said, you'll be perfect.
You qualify. Wait, you qualify. That's awesome.
But we just knew we were kindred. And I said,
awesome.
Okay, I'm going to get this workbook. We're going to do it.
Good.
And we did it. And I knew from the beginning that Elizabeth was going to be a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I told her.
Yeah, she is.
Even before she asked me to be her sponsor.
Right. Yeah, she had a certain grit about her, right?
Oh, my goodness.
A certain there was a determination in your eye that you had had enough pain, and that you were looking for something different.
Yeah, I was ready. I was desperate, and when I came into the rooms, I wanted what they all had. There was only a few women when I started,
right.
So I had a lot of support from men and women. But now we have, it's not just the girl gang, it's the girl gang.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're 6 strong, but we have a lot of support in the rooms. And, I did what you all told me. I was desperate.
Okay, so from Kim, then came Elizabeth. And then, so how does Katie and Jackie join the group?
Well, I guess I came next. So I came in shortly after Elizabeth and was in a really, really bad spot, like most of us are when we come in. And also, I would say, yes, very, very desperate, unique situation in my life at the time. I think if you guys remember, I was pregnant.
Yes.
When I came back in. And I remember my very first meeting at MFC, Kim and Elizabeth were there, and, you get the numbers, and I remember texting and reaching out, and kept coming back to the 7 a.m.s. And one day, Kim said something very profound, and I still remember to this day what it was. She was talking about a door, I believe it's in Bob's house, that had different handles on it, and just related it to the program, and it just really, really stuck with me, and I needed a sponsor at the time. So I reached out. I texted her that morning after I got home from the meeting and said, hey, I loved what you said today. I really can relate. I think we have a lot in common. Would you be my sponsor? And she kind of gave me the same spiel that she gave Elizabeth. She's like,
I don't qualify.
I don't know. She's like, Elizabeth just asked me to. I don't know if I'm going to do this right. And I said, no, I trust you. Like, let's just do it. And then, that's how I came. And then Katie was in shortly after.
So then, Katie, you come through the doors.
Yes, I came back to Mokina early 2023. I had been in and out of AA for about 3 years, and actually called one of our other good friends from the program, Claudia.
Claudia. She's been on the show. Yeah.
She said, yes, I still go to the 7 a.m.s. You should come. It's awesome. So I went, and I've been going ever since.
Isn't that outstanding?
Yes.
So who's your sponsor?
My sponsor is Kim.
Oh, look at that. So the girl, the lady who doesn't want to sponsor, who's unqualified, is sponsoring half the people in Southwest Chicago. That's nice.
So
and not just half the people, 3 beautiful women, inside and out, they are such winners. And the difference between before and after has never been more profound.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a commercial there.
Right.
And Kim, I have to jump in, and I'll say this selfishly. I mean, I worked the steps. With my sponsor, and on a scale of 1 to 10, there's probably a 4, right? And I'm probably at an 8 or 9 now because I've had the opportunity to work with others. And when I work with others and sponsor others, I work the program and steps right alongside them. So I worked them quite a number of times, and I learned more through others than I ever learned going through it myself. So it's a privilege, and I mean, that's where I think the magic happens. And as you ladies learn the program, and there'll be a day people come to you and say, "Hey, will you sponsor me?" And you already have the answer. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
That's right. Right? Isn't that the case?
No, that's fantastic, man.
What I love,
great energy.
Isn't it great energy?
Yeah,
what
great.
I love is what you said, and I heard it in the voices of Elizabeth, Katie, and Jackie. And myself. I came in so broken. I didn't think that joy and that you speak of now, Kim, about the purity and the joy of the heart and just the transformation blows me away that I'm living this. I mean, because I was so broken. So I have such a grand appreciation of where the energy that you all 3 have. And I'm seeing Jackie smile right now, and she's got the most beautiful little child. And she shares pictures, which is what I do. So, yeah.
That's awesome. It sounds like you all had a very quality process in picking your sponsor. My first temporary sponsor when I was rehab in Laguna Beach, here's my criteria. He had a really cool watch and cool shoes, and I'm like, I can relate to that guy. And he was my temporary sponsor, and he had his hands full.
Yeah.
You had a different process.
Oh, no. My first sponsor, and this is in 1981, we had so little in common, but she knew the program. And she was OA and AA. So she brought me into AA right away, thank goodness. She had a tattoo, kind of unusual in 1981.
Sure.
And it was on her forehead.
That's very unusual for 1981.
Now it's kind of common. But
Anyway, one important thing is, so Elizabeth was so strong from the get-go that when I said yes to Jackie, I said, yes, but it's a twofer.
Oh.
It's a twofer. And then when Katie came along, I said, it's a threefer. And so we are all each other's co-sponsors.
no, that's
And
awesome.
Everybody knows everybody's stuff.
That's great.
That's awesome. When I had my first sponsor, he asked me, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I called my sponsor, Tim. I'm like, dude, let's get together and let's work on this together. And we did. And I don't take a sponsor on without all of us going out to dinner and all working. And they work with him just like they work with me. And I just love how this stuff works.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Elizabeth. You wanted to say?
Yeah, it's really a sisterhood. You know, we do things together and individually, but at the end of the day, we know each other's hearts. You know, we trust each other immensely, and we count on each other. You know, there is accountability, but there is such a level of comfort in the trust that we have together that it's just the most beautiful relationship.
Yeah, accountability is so big. Glenn keeps me accountable. I mean, during the week, I get the text messages, I get the phone calls. Dude, and he gives me grief about not going to meetings, right? But, you know, raise your hand if, like, I had no accountability before AA. I was accountable to nobody. I mean, I didn't listen to anybody. No, my employer, my spouse, my siblings. I was accountable to nobody. There is a beautiful thing about accountability that just is empowering, because I know I can't get too far out of line or I'm going to get the call from them and I can't bullshit them. You know, how you doing? Good. Yeah, how you doing? Because you're not acting good. I said, oh, okay. But there is a beauty to it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You nailed it when you just said, how you doing? Good. There's no okay or fine in our, whether it's text or when we see each other, we can tell. But when it's through the phone, which it is often, there's none of that. You know, tell us how you're feeling. It's important to share with us, not only so you can release your burden, but we need to help you. You know, it's part of our process too in these relationships. And for them to have the depth that they do, we need to know what's really going on in each other's lives.
Sure.
We don't have to bullshit each other. We can say we're having a bad day and this is why. And then, you know, we can be there for each other. It gives me something just as much as, you know, when I tell them I'm having a bad day or they tell me.
So quick question. Elizabeth, what step are you on?
I do the steps, you know, throughout. I've been back to 4 now. I completed the steps, but I'm working with someone now, a woman, and we're through this. We're on 6 and 7, but I've done the steps, but you know, 10, 11, 12 or daily, and I had to go back to 4, of course, for resentment. I with my mother, so that was something. You know, you use the steps every day in life.
Awesome, Jackie.
I would say the exact same thing. I think at times I've had to go back to 4 too with some resentments for some people and situations that I have in my life. But yeah, 10, 11, 12 every single day are vital to the program.
And then Katie?
I have also completed and I agree too. I feel like it's just a daily thing, working the steps. I also feel that step 4 is something I'll probably have to go back to at some point and work on with a few people.
So it seems like if I'm have an idea of sobriety, you're in like the 1 to 2 year range, roughly.
I just celebrated my year in March.
Congratulations,
Yay.
Katie.
I had a year in April.
Yay!
And you got like 13 months?
I have
14?
had a year at the end of January
Okay,
20th.
all right.
So we're all just over a year, and
So the one thing I noticed, and I shared this before last time I had Elizabeth on. I mean, when I knew Elizabeth in the rooms, and I see her across the room and listen to her share, I'm like, wow, she's got 20 years. She had like 10 months. So what I'm picking up on here, and maybe throw this out, is just to get your feedback. What's the right pace, or what's a pace to get people through the steps, right? People are like, well, in the big book, they got it through in a weekend, right? I've always shared, especially steps 8 and 9, there's a timing for steps 8 and 9, because I think people need to see you change prior to listening to more words, right? So what's a good pace to get through the steps? It seems like you got through the steps and are going back already within a year or so. So it looks like the boss of the girl gang is going to jump in here.
The CEO.
Yeah.
The CEO. I love it.
So I've watched what works and what doesn't. And so I got this workbook from Amazon, and we met and we did a step a week.
So what's the book on Amazon? Maybe we put up on our resource room.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Oh, it was kind of overkill, and it was okay, but I did the same book with each of them. So
it just acted as a guide to walk you through the steps.
So we had a clear, have you done step 1? Yes. You've written all the things. You've read all the things in there. We can sign off. You've done step 1. So we can move to step 2.
So very definitive.
Very definitive, and
very objective.
A step a week.
All right.
I think what was great about Kim's process, to her point, the workbook, I'll look it up because there's a really great journal that goes along with it, that I got the journal that I used to bring to my meetings and journal in.
It turns out journaling is not just a chick thing. I actually journal. I love it. It is like, I can't believe I'm doing it. It's great.
And what I love about this journal too, it coincides with the workbook. So when we are working the steps, but it's an actual AA journal. So it keeps you very, focused as you're doing your thoughts regarding the program. But what I loved about Kim is, and a lot of people, I think, when we said, we are doing a step a week, they were like, whoa, that seems like really, really fast. She let us go at our own pace, though. Like if, one of us, and again, I think we're all very involved in each other's step journey. So, jump in if I'm misspeaking here. But, if one of us got stuck on something, or we said we needed a little time, I know that there was, a couple of steps that I wanted to get through before I had my baby for certain reasons. And I got stuck on a couple of them, and, I still met with her, but I said, hey, I need a little bit more time to process things. I was having a hard time putting pen to paper for certain things. She allowed us, to have that time and space to make sure that, it wasn't just a checking the box that we wrote stuff down in the workbook. It was, the writing part was a guide, and that we went and had serious, heartfelt, in-depth conversations about it. But so I think that the workbook thing for me, worked. I liked structure, and I liked the pace that we were going at a step a week. And it wasn't just to roar through them and get them done to say, oh, we did the steps.
Right.
It worked at a really good pace, and I think it kept us all very heightened in our commitment to the program, and, really made us work for how bad do we want it. And we kind of all just threw ourselves into it. We're all very similar in our work ethic in that way. And I think, that was just a really, really great guide. But I don't want it to come off wrong. And, she said we had to do a step a week. She gave us the time and space to do it.
To do it fearless and thorough.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we would meet. That was pretty much a prerequisite. We had to meet every week. We set times that worked with our schedule, with Kim.
Which is hard. I mean, in this day and age.
And we tried to keep it, on point. We tried to make it a priority. We did make it a priority, but we tried not to ever switch the times. We had set times.
Right.
But we worked on the step a week. We didn't always complete or finish them each week, but it was very important that we meet and talk and do this workbook. And like Jackie said, to have that structure. And we did look it up. It's the 12-step workbook.
Right.
So
we'll put a link in the resource room.
So it's funny that you say that. I mean, that's the commitment. I'm working with a guy now, 60 days sober. And, I've gotten on with him, 6 Zoom meetings in the last 2 weeks. He has rescheduled every single one of them. And I'm like, dude, this is not a priority for you. Like this has to be, I don't want to hear it. I'm just saying, if you reschedule 100% of our Zooms over 2 weeks, this is not important to you. Just not. Well, I don't want to hear it. I'm just right. So I love hearing that you had it scheduled, you made it a priority, and you stuck to it. I love that.
And meetings, of course. We still,
You still go to meetings?
Oh.
After a year of sobriety? Come on. Why?
Every day. We all go a few times a week. Always. Some of us chair. We've all spoken at AA events, which was wonderful. So proud to hear these stories. But yeah, the meetings are so important too. The big book, the readings, the daily readings, 24 hours, those things are all a part of our daily life as well.
Right. Do you think it's harder to do AA these days just with all the kind of demands of, because that is time. I mean, that's time out of your schedule. You've got a new one. You've got a career probably, we got stuff that's happening. And do you find it tough?
I think that sometimes it can be a little bit stressful, but it is definitely, for me, I had to make it a priority. I have a career, I have 2 children, they're busy, but that when I started making the program, like, honestly, one of the most important things, even, my kids, sometimes I'm not there to get them on the bus, but they know why.
Right.
And they have said, we would rather have you go to your meeting and we can walk to school.
Right.
So that for me was the biggest thing.
Right.
Yeah, but what I found is, and I am constantly amazed, is when you're on the sober path, and subsequently, the spiritual path, if people choose to go that route, I have found both of those are superpowers. And I have found that stuff works out that it just doesn't make sense. Like there are work projects that I do for work, and I budget 3 hours, and I have a 25 years of experience. That takes 3 hours. And all of a sudden I'll be done in an hour and 20 minutes. And I just cannot, the only thing I can point that to is, my intention is, sobriety, and I'm getting chills because it works so well. But I had a guy call me up. He says, hey, man, my life's so busy, but I have an opportunity to do this, a service thing, a leadership service thing. And he goes, but I don't know how I'm going to fit it in. I'm like, just say yes. I'm like, you will be amazed at how this shit works out. And he did. He goes, changed my life, Glenn. Thanks.
Oh. Incredible. Kim, you wanted to add?
Yeah. So I've flunked retirement, and I've started a new leadership program with Lewis University, and it is going fabulous. I mean, I'm meeting all the right people, and I run around all day and have meetings, and it's really cool. And I can tell people, I want to tell people that the reason it's going so well is because I have a superpower. I go to the 7 a.m. meeting in person at Mokina 7 days a week, and I wouldn't miss it for anything.
That's your superpower.
That's my superpower. I go, so I'm dressed for the day. I see all my friends. We talk about God, program. I get courage, confidence, enthusiasm, fellowship. It's just, it's like taking a shot in the morning, and you are off like a rocket. And
you got the most sobriety in the room, and you got more excitement and passion than
Mikey does.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's hard to believe.
That's great.
Oh, it's it. I love program. I've always loved program.
And I love the fact you flunked out of retirement. I got expelled, actually, from retirement. Yeah, they told me just get out and go get a job because sitting around doing nothing all day did not work out very well for me. Are you ready for retirement?
No. But I have my retirement plan. And a lot of it includes doing stuff in sobriety.
Yeah, right. Well, we get to do it. We get to do those things because we're in a 7 a.m. meeting. We get to live the other 23 hours a day with some balance of power.
What I'm doing, I'm sitting here missing the 7 a.m.s.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, because I didn't miss a 7 a.m. for 5 years.
Right.
And, but now I got work, and I might just have to rejuggle that schedule.
Yeah, flunk out of that work thing.
I can't flunk out of my work stuff, but I can rejuggle.
Yeah, right.
I can restructure.
Right. So what do you guys do for fun?
Pickleball.
Well, we do pickleball. Yeah,
Pickleball. Everyone does pickleball.
I hear pickleball in every meeting. Pickleball.
Does the girl gang all do pickleball together? No, not so much.
No. But we do a lot of things together. We celebrate each other's lives. Jackie and Katie have kids, and I've been to Katie's son's football game, and we stay in touch, and she sends us photos of her daughter, who's a wonderful dancer. Nice. And, we've met them, and, of course, Jackie's son. We see him often. She brings him everywhere.
So, Jackie, how old's your son? A year? Less
He's
than
9 months.
9 months, yeah. And then, Katie, how old are your kids?
My daughter's 12 and my son is 14.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Busy times.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone to Sober.Fest together in Lake Geneva. That was wonderful. We plan on going. Kim, the three of us went, Jackie, Katie, and I, and Kim couldn't make it this year, but she's already booked the hotel for next November.
Oh, is that the Sober.Fest in the north side of Chicago?
It's at Lake Geneva.
McHenry.
Yeah, we're actually talking about maybe doing the podcast from up there.
Oh.
Yeah, we're talking with the folks
we'll be
up there
there
now.
in case you need guests.
Yeah.
A wonderful friend, Don M., who
Don
pickleballs
M.,
with us.
sure.
Him and his wife,
Okay.
Trish. We sat with them at dinner. We made sure we
he's been
sat with them.
He's been on the podcast.
I know,
He's very funny.
He's very funny. Yeah, he comes to a lot of events. We have bonfires. We had one last week. Halloween parties. We did Friendsgiving. We really stay connected, and we meet for dinners and coffee and meetings. Meetings
so sobriety is not boring to you four?
No, not at all.
Okay,
No.
just checking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So have you guys ever been out to Ohio to see the whole?
I have. I've been to Akron.
Oh, you've been to Akron.
I had to go to Cleveland for a business trip, and went out for the day in Akron last fall, and it was amazing. I had a spiritual experience at Dr. Bob's home with the tour guide there at the end of the tour, and it was amazing.
Wow.
It was a highlight of my life.
Wow.
My year coin is actually the two men on it that founded AA, Dr. Bob and Bill W., which I was surprised at first. I'm a girl. I looked at it and I thought, well, that's interesting. They have so many tree ones and different ones, and I thought, I kind of love the roots and the tree of AA. And but then my friends told me it was because of the spiritual experience I had at Dr. Bob's home, and that's why they got me that coin, and it means so much to me. I carry it with me every day. But it was tremendous. I highly recommend it. I know they have Founders Day in the summer. But I went on, just on my own, and there was only a few other people there. We saw all the sites, went to the gatehouse, where Henrietta Seidelberg introduced them and cooked for them, and let them stay there. And we went to, of course, Dr. Bob's gravesite and his office and the hotel. So it was wonderful. I highly recommend Akron for anybody. It's a great place.
Yeah, so just brainstorming. I mean, we have one of our listeners that lives in Akron, and she knows the place like the back of her hand, and she's always like, hey, if you guys ever want to bring some people out, she goes, I'll show you guys all around and do it all. And so that might be a good activity. Get a little activity bus going.
Yeah, there you go.
Akron.
There you go. So my favorite part of the podcast is your piece of recommendation for a young lady coming into the program. She's struggling. She's beat up. She's maybe devastated, defeated. Words of advice for her in 2024. What does she do? What does she grab onto?
My piece of advice for her would be to keep coming back, find her people. As I said earlier, I had been in and out for about 3 years and was not willing. That's a huge one for me too. I wasn't willing to really open up or talk to anybody. It was a very surface level thing for me. I was just going kind of just to go. I wasn't really participating. So I would say be open to. You really have to. If you want it, you have to work the program. You have to.
I have something I'd like to say to people who are thinking about sponsoring. So I grew up in AA where you kept your arm's length. You kept your sponsee at arm's length, and you were the authority, and you didn't get too close. And I think just the opposite works, at least with women. Don't say yes to any woman who you don't think you would want to be your sponsor once they got sober. And go ahead and fall in love with your sponsee, because love is what saves.
My piece of advice, very much like Katie, I was in and out of the program. If you get numbers, I would say use them. I think that was the biggest thing that saved me. Like I had said, I got the numbers that first day, and I texted every single woman on that little card and said, thank you for what you said to me today in the meeting. And I just reached out, and, I always say they loved me when I couldn't love myself, and that's what kept me going. We kind of talked about that little accountability piece, but just put yourself out there, know that you're not alone, and just walk up to someone and just say, hi, and I need help, and can I talk to you? That can be very, very challenging when you feel that you're so alone and you're beaten down and you're broken. But someone will be there, especially I think in a female setting. They will take your hand and they will take you along, even if you're not necessarily open and willing. But to Katie's point, I think that's important. But I know that Kim and Elizabeth took me along a little bit, probably more than I thought that they did in the beginning. And I realize that now, and that makes me thankful for our friendship and, the sober sisterhood that we have.
So I love that point. If I can jump in, Elizabeth, I love that point about the phone numbers, right? Because a lot of people hand out phone numbers, and I've put my phone number down 500 times, and I've never gotten a single, right? And it takes me back to my sponsor. When I got re-engaged with my sponsor, he says, I literally went a year without talking on the phone. I was in alcoholic hell for a year, and he says, I want you to call me every day. And I said, no. He goes, why? What do you mean no? I said, I don't know what to say. He goes, I'll tell you what, you call me every day and just say one word, hi. He goes, I'll take it from there. And I said, okay, I can do that, right? I'll surrender, I'll do that. And the magic just started to happen. And just saying a text and just saying, hey, was in the meeting with you today, thanks for connecting. It doesn't need to be some big dissertation, right? Just because it's sometimes coming back, man, that phone weighs so many pounds, it's just so hard. But just say, hey, thanks, enjoyed meeting you or whatever.
I agree. We have some text threads. I think I spoke about it last time, some with 18, some with just the 6 of us, some with 4, some with 16. There's so many things going on. And early on with the numbers, I think the girls touched on it, so important. When Kim had me do pickleball, we went like a month in and we're playing, and she found this spot and said, put it on the board, let's invite the fellowship. And put your number on the board and write it, and you'll be in charge of this. This will be service work. And we were in a meeting.
What's your name?
And my name's Elizabeth, and I'm an alcoholic.
What is your real name?
Oh, yes, Slugger.
Oh, Slugger. Yeah, so they have me as Slugger. And so
Call Slugger.
Yeah, it's called Slugger, which is a funny point because a lot of people think it's a guy, and still to this day I hear his number's on the board. But it gave me the opportunity to connect with people and to be responsible and reliable. And we were in a meeting, and there was a gentleman chairing the meeting at 7 a.m. Thursday, and he said to us in the middle of the meeting, "Why don't you girls put the address on the board?" And Kim pulled out her phone and put us in the 3-person text thread and said, "This is for Elizabeth/Slugger's fellowship. She's to give out the address." And that was really important to take me out of the isolation that she knew I'd put myself into prior. This was only a couple months into sobriety. So I think that's extremely important. We stay connected. We start our mornings in a large group thread. Every morning someone starts us with good morning, and all of us, check in, say something, and we send each other positivity, and we send each other funny jokes. And it's really important to stay connected. And if I could touch on the meetings that we were speaking of when you first come in, what to do. And when you go in, share of yourself, be honest. Listen, it's so important to listen. It didn't work for me for the first couple months because I really wasn't listening. But listening and then sharing your your truth. Being honest is so freeing. It's where I learned to forgive myself. Saying in those rooms things you thought you could never say is a huge part of the process, because we have to forgive ourselves. We're human, we have a disease, and we are courageous for making that change, but we can't do it alone. It's a we program. And going in those rooms and sitting in a meeting and leaving is I think, what a lot of us do in the beginning, in a little late, out a little early. But it's so important to share of yourself and listen to others. The connection is profound.
Yeah. And that's what I'm hearing all morning. It's the connection. I mean, the connection you guys have gives me chills. The love. I mean, Glenn loves to define things, likes to define things, and love is just, in my opinion, is just caring for that other person more than you care for yourself in that moment in time. And I just feel the love in this room that you guys have for each other. But connection. I was an isolator. I didn't want anybody in my life. And yeah, I knew I had a drinking problem, and I was going to fix that. So get out of my face. I was going to fix it. I knew I couldn't fix it, but bottom line, just let me go away and drink and destroy my life. I was happy in that place. And connection for me was work. It wasn't natural. Oh, kumbaya, let's go do something together today, Glenn. It was work. It still works sometimes for me, because my inside, I'm an isolator, and I know the danger of that, and I can't afford to go back to that place I was, because it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
8 hours of sober Uno is work. That is work.
You deserve a medal.
Pickleball, not so much.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you have to come try it. It's super easy. Right. A good friend of all of ours, Stella, a wonderful woman in the program, always said the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah, there you go.
And you just can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm. Can I talk to the elephant in the room? Talk to the young lady who wants to come into the room, and she's afraid, maybe she's heard that, there's a thing called the 13th step, that things are going to be, let's just talk about it, because it's real. And Glenn and I did an episode.
I didn't know about a 13th step. I haven't done that one yet.
We have. Good. We've done an episode on it. I think it's wrong in so many ways, and go back and listen to the episode. There's just no room in Alcoholics Anonymous for that kind of activity. But that being said, how do you overcome, or what do you say to the young lady or middle-aged lady or whatever lady coming into the rooms that, they're there for a purpose? How does that make sense? What do you? I'm getting nods, so you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but it's not a big deal, because this is what you get at the workplace,
right? Okay,
at the gym, at the grocery store.
You're right. It's not going to happen just 1 hour in a day. It's going to happen all.
And hey, the second elephant in the room, it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I saw a girl come into the room, and she was always asking for a ride. And she would only ask for rides from selective people, and other guys that were offering to give her a ride, she didn't need a ride. And it was like 3 selective people. So it goes both. Okay. I was never asked for the ride.
I was never. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. No one asked me for a ride.
It's just funny, the dynamics of the room, and when people coming in,
and that's what I want to talk to.
People
just want
are
to make
hurting,
sure,
and people are needing, and I see it go both ways, and it's terrible.
Yes, it is terrible.
I think my biggest piece of advice is, and I take this from a very logical perspective, program talks to you about being open and honest and vulnerable. And that can put you out there in ways and maybe set you up for some situations that you're not ready for. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that that's a way for females or males, to your point, to look at that and be super concerned about. I've experienced it maybe once or twice since coming back into the program. And you have to remember that it's human nature to feel drawn to other people. And when you put yourself out there and be vulnerable, that can be perceived by another person in a different way. Right. But I think, to put it back to the principles of the program, if you're being open and honest, you should be able to have a conversation with that person. Hey, I said this, I didn't mean it to come off this way. Or, hey, you said this or you did this and it made me feel kind of uncomfortable, and we're just friends or we're just acquaintances, and kind of set those boundaries. Boundaries is also a big thing about program. We all know that. And I think if you don't feel comfortable or you're not confident enough yet, especially for someone that's new coming into the program, go to your sponsor if you have one. If you don't have one at the time, that goes back to what I was saying about go up to one of the females or a male and say, hey, I need your help.
Good.
Like someone will take your hand and help you guide through that. I know both times I had instances, I went to these ladies and said, hey, you guys, like, such and such happened. What do you think I should say? Or I did this. How do you think I handled it? To get feedback too. So then that way, that builds your confidence, but it arms you to kind of be prepared for in the future.
I love that logic. And again, it went back to connectivity and connection. You went back to your pack, back to your girl gang and said, okay, how do I proceed?
I agree. Telling your sponsor, I did do that when it happened to me. And Kim told me that I should tell some of what we call the elder statesmen with some time in the room, and I did.
Good.
I went, and it eventually
I didn't mean to say it that way. I'm sorry.
And eventually his sponsor came to me and talked to me about it, and there was another woman that the same situation had happened, and it was inappropriate touching.
Okay.
And down the road, he came to me and made an amends.
Okay.
And apologized months later, but it was greatly appreciated. Kim had said it to me, and Jackie touched on it. I think it's so important because it can't be tolerated. You are vulnerable, and I was told there are other women we have to protect that come into the room. So silence shouldn't be an option. It's scary. It's hard. You're going through so much as it is, but you have to remember you have a voice, and if you see something, also say something.
Yeah. And like Kim said, it's omnipresent everywhere. So this doesn't just happen 59 minutes in a meeting, right?
But I think it goes the opposite way too. And being fully transparent here, I got 50 guys' phone numbers in my phone. My brothers, and I purposefully don't have. I think I have 2 or 3 women's phone numbers, and they're like sisters, right? So I think as I've gotten to know and getting to know you guys, I'm being shortchanged probably because I draw a really tight line, right? And I'm like, no, I have a lot of cool cookouts and stuff at my house, and 15 brothers come, right? And I've never invited any sisters, right? And I've got a lobster thing coming up, and I'm like, why don't I invite women, right? Why is there such a tight line? And I think I'm so aware of it. I'm probably too much aware of
hyper
it.
Aware.
Right? Hyper aware of it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with setting your own boundaries.
Yeah, what works for some works for others. We have a large group of men, brothers and
good group.
Sobriety, big group.
Yeah, so I moved to Lockport right after my divorce, and so I came into AA again, single, and it was really just wonderful to have all this male support. And I've never dated anybody in program, and I never will. And everybody knows that, and now I'm with somebody. So I have all these men friends.
Right.
And we joke, and I can hug them, and I've got as many male phone numbers as I do female. Yeah. And everybody knows that we're just friends, and that's great. And they can
with
count
a single
on me
priority
too.
of sobriety.
Yeah, and they can count on me too.
That's awesome.
And I throw parties, and we throw parties.
You guys,
I know. I see the pictures.
Parties.
They're fun looking get-togethers.
Yeah. And when my house burned down on Christmas Eve, but when it gets up again, I'll throw another party.
Oh. So, what's one thing you wanted to scream into a podcast when we all agreed that you'd be coming here? What's the one message you want to send out? Pondering. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Good question.
What's burning?
What's burning?
What's burning? That there is a pushing off point that you can start anew. You deserve the life that you want. You know, you can rebuild, and it can be better than before. When I came into this program, I didn't think I could reinvent myself. I didn't think I could stay sober for a day, literally a day. And when you start to have the 9th step promises coming true, you realize that you are strong and capable of anything. And your sobriety has to come first. But with that comes this beautiful life of, seeing the world differently. Someone had said to me once that she saw colors differently, and I'll never forget that, because I do. I see the world differently. I'm able to handle things with less anger and more acceptance. And I always thought I was a tolerant, kind person, but, I wasn't. I wouldn't let people have their own feelings, and this program has taught me as an individual, I am in charge, with my higher power of my future. And I can leave my past in my past. I have that pushing off point. I can leave that island that I was on alone and go to new adventures, a new life. There's no limit to what I can do now. And I was very much in a box before that I put myself in. But that if you really work the steps and open yourself up to the possibility, I mean, you do have to do the work. Your whole entire life will change. I mean, I always say I didn't have a life before I got a life. I didn't get an old life. Yeah. I got a brand new existence. And, you really can leave your past in your past.
I love that. I couldn't imagine you like drinking or drunk. I mean, I just love the you that you are. I couldn't imagine it.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. Kim?
Yes. So for a lot of women, the problem wasn't self-will. We had been listening to alcohol, and we had been doing what the men in our lives wanted us to do. So step 6 is not don't be a dick. It's no, stand up for yourself. Oh. And I want for my sponsees what I want for myself. I want to have a fabulous life. I want to have health and wealth and careers and romance and great relationships with everybody in my life. I want to have fun and be successful. Because if sobriety isn't more fun than drinking, hey, guess what?
Love it. And we've been to a lot of 7 a.m.s together, and when I think of you in your special corner of the room, she always sits in the corner. Nobody puts baby in the corner. Nobody. I think of peace. There's a tranquility about you, a peace about you, and yet your house burned down and your relationships didn't work out and your job is challenging. It doesn't matter. Through all the waves crashing into the boat, you're just peaceful and you're inspirational. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Katie?
I would just say that it works. It's something that I had gotten myself in such a hole of isolation. I'm who I used to be, who I always knew I was. And I got lost for a really long time. And sometimes it's really tough to think that you can see the other side, but it is there. It really is. And I think that everybody's bottom is different. I don't even know if I have a certain one, but finally it's working. And it's awesome. I would always just tell people to keep coming back, because that's what I would do. Even with my tail between my legs, I would just keep coming back. And, I always felt shame, but I would do it, and it finally clicked. So it feels good.
Your persistence paid off.
Yes.
You're healthy. You elude, kind of that health. And, we've been to many meetings together as well. Not as many as Kim, because she's always at that 7, but you're there a lot. And so that consistency and that persistence to keep coming back. I love that line, keep coming back. You hear it a lot, but that was the differentiator for me, because you don't get this whole thing in 59, 60 minutes. It takes 60 times, multiple times. And I love the way Glenn says it. I'm on the slow train. Sometimes I need to hear it 10 times. But thank you. You're an inspiration. How about you, Bubbly?
I think my message would be, it's going to be okay. Just plain and simple. As long as you believe in your heart that it's going to be okay, it's going to work. And God will put the right people, the right places, the right things in your life in order for you to make it happen for yourself and take away all the rest of the BS that you want to leave behind. Elizabeth touched on, the 9-step promises coming true. And like Katie just said, I'm having a life that I've always wanted. And at one point, I never thought it would actually happen. But when I came back in, I knew it was going to be okay. And as long as I kept that belief up in my heart and all the other things that go along with program, working the steps, going to meetings, finding your higher power, getting a sponsor, all of that stuff, it comes with time. But you have to, and the work, I should say. But as long as you go in and you truly believe, hey, I've hit my bottom, regardless of how many you've had or what it looks like, it's going to be okay, because you're usually sitting in a room full of people that have been there exactly where you are, exactly at that moment, feeling those exact same things. And they'll tell you it's going to be okay. And that's no bullshit. Like, that's the honest to God's truth. It will be okay. And as long as you have that faith in your heart, even when you can't believe in yourself, because trust me, no one hated themselves more than I did when I came back in. And I still struggle with self-forgiveness. As long as you just keep repeating that to yourself, it's going to be okay. The rest of it will come with time.
That's awesome, man. There's a certain seriousness about you right from day one. You were serious about your sobriety, and you came in kind of kicking and screaming a little bit, and like an angry energy, because you were mad at who had you become. And that's what I related to so much, because I was so angry when you talked about, I think you talked about too, coming back to that person you thought you were, this new person. I don't think I connected with who I was. Like 6 years old was really who I was. Everything after that was a bad blur of bad decisions and alcohol and abuse and all these other things. But to reconnect to that 6-year-old, now I've got a fresh start, and that's what I feel like. And you guys are very inspirational to my journey. You always have been. The 7 a.m. meetings changed my life. And yeah,
going back to when I was in rehabs, one of the clinical behavioral therapists or whatever they're called. I mean, I was in such a cycle. I hated myself, shame, remorse, all those fun words, right? Self-hate, and then I drink because I couldn't handle that. I drank, and then because I drank, it was just a cycle. And she actually did that. She goes, "Who were you in 3rd grade? Tell me who you were." And I listed all the attributes, and I kind of liked that kid. That kid was kind of cool. That kid kind of worked, right? And I just want to read a text that, if I could, as we close out here. But my daughter sent this to me. Now, just a quick, for those that don't, I mean, my 2 daughters wrote me off. They're 30 and 26 right now. Wrote me off. It wanted nothing to do with me, just like everybody else in my life. I had nobody in my life 10 years ago. And it took time to rebuild, right? And if you do a step a week, I could not have done my 9th step with them in 9 weeks, because it took them 3 years to finally want to listen to what I said and to understand, oh my gosh, Dad's changed. Let me listen, right? And so it took a lot of time. She just sent this to me last week. She goes, "Dad, you lead every day with purpose and drive, and I'm so proud of who you are today. I don't even recognize who you were a decade ago. And I'm so happy to know that who you are today. Keep doing right things is paying off." I mean, to not recognize, that means, this program, I get chills. Look at those chills. Just because this program has shown me a new way to live. So when I hear about the 9-step promises, I remember the first time I heard those. I went home, I was living with a sober buddy. I remember going to my room and I write down all the stuff I wanted back, all the stuff I lost. And what I know today is those 9-step promises are 100% coming true, have come and still are coming true. And it looks nothing like that list. And the only thing I can attribute that to is step 3. I have a different bus driver today, right? And the bus driver today says, here's the promises, here's the path that I'm crafting for you, here's the new life and what you're going to live. And it had nothing to do with the bullshit list that I had, when I went back and wrote it all down. So it's a new way to live.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for having us on the program. I'm sitting around looking at the girl gang, and we're never going to forget this experience.
That's awesome.
And
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah.
This is...
Gals, I should say.
We're never going to forget this experience and looking at each other and smiling, and this is fun.
Well, I have one thing to say.
Yes.
Come on back.
Come on back. Yeah, good.
Thanks
you
for
get
having
the,
us.
Yeah,
Yes,
you get the
thank
double
you so
thumbs up.
much.
Goodbye,
Thank
girls.
you.
See you, ladies. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.